Jason Whitlock, Deion Sanders, get your popcorn ready. An interesting beef is brewing between these two men. This is Sports Guy Talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Jason Whitlock being an idiot when it comes to talking about Deion Sanders. For weeks, Jason Whitlock has been trashing Deion Sanders all the time, and that behavior has continued after Colorado got blown out to Oregon. The obsession that Jason Whitlock has with Deion Sanders has certainly become disturbing to say the least. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with a topic question. So here it is. What are your takeaways on Jason Whitlock being obsessed with Deion Sanders? So I got 5 takeaways that I got from listening to Jason Whitlock talk about Deion Sanders for weeks, particularly on Monday, because clearly Jason Whitlock has some issues within himself. That's takeaway number 1. There's clearly something wrong with Jason Whitlock. I've been trying to figure out for weeks what's been wrong with him, because whenever he talks about Deion Sanders, he doesn't think like a rational man whatsoever. He's been thinking like one of those woke women. Now granted, Jason Whitlock is doing it from the perspective of a far right leaning man instead of a far left leaning woman. But Jason Whitlock, you can tell that he's extremely insecure with himself. When you look at Jason Whitlock, you can notice that he's an overweight man. And typically, I don't like to comment about people's weight because some people, they're legitimately overweight because they can't control their weight or they might have some health problem or whatever. But Jason Whitlock, man, you definitely got some problems because you look at his face, you look at his body, you look at his chest, you look at everything about him. It's like, oh my goodness, does this dude even know anything about staying healthy? And this dude is eating fried chicken probably every single day as soon as the show finishes. He eats fried chicken probably as soon as the show ends. He's probably eating steak at lunch. He's probably eating pork chops all the time. He's probably eating chips all day long. Because how does a man look so obese like that? How does he manage to make himself look like that? And he's the same age as Deion Sanders, and he's already admitted this himself. But you look at Deion Sanders versus Jason Whitlock, and you tell me which man looks more credible, Deion Sanders or Jason Whitlock. Because unless if you're somebody that has an agenda against Deion Sanders, the correct answer is Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders clearly has more credibility than Jason Whitlock. What Deion Sanders has done at Colorado has been amazing to say the least. Look, am I going to be like one of those out-of-control fanboys where I'm going to act like I've been repping Colorado my entire life, or that Deion Sanders is the greatest human being to ever live on earth? No, I'm not going to go ahead and say that. But to say that Deion Sanders hasn't made that much impact at Colorado and that he's massively overrated, that is massive hate speak. Now, do I think Jason Whitlock deserves to get canceled for the way that he's been talking about Deion Sanders? No, I don't think he deserves to get canceled. Just like I don't believe that Jamel Hill deserves to get canceled, or that people on The View deserve to get canceled, or that the people that are woke on ESPN or CNN deserve to get canceled. I'm not a fan of cancel culture one way or another. I think it's important and I think it's healthy for both sides to speak out on their minds. I think it's important to let the liberals speak their mind. I think it's important to let the conservatives speak our mind. I always say all the time that this is not an agenda-driven channel. Well, I feel like it's only fair to address this issue from Jason Whitlock, since he is a far-right pundit that is running his mouth about Deion Sanders, that is spreading fake news about him. So I get on the left all the time for spreading fake news. I feel like it's only fair that I talk about this topic just so I can say that, hey, I get on both sides. I'm not a liberal. I'm not a conservative. I don't really care what political side you are, because these guys are playing political games on you. These guys act like this is a game that they are playing on you, and that whoever tries the other side more is going to win. And that's not how politics was supposed to be invented. You listen to what George Washington was saying back in the 1700s. He didn't want to form political parties because of the fact that he didn't want in-house fighting. But that's exactly what the United States of America has become. You got both sides fighting against each other. And look, I don't mind if you're going to be a little bit conservative. I don't mind if you're going to be a little bit liberal. But look, you definitely have people that have their agendas driving on each other, and Jason Whitlock is one of those people. This dude is extremely insecure with himself, and he's jealous of Deion Sanders. And that's my takeaway number 2 from this. Jason Whitlock is clearly jealous of him because he's always inserting himself into the story whenever he's been going on his rants on the show Fearless on YouTube. Even his racist fan base doesn't even support him, because those guys are even saying, move on, Jason Whitlock. Stop talking about Deion Sanders. Can you please talk about something different? Can you please at least give him credit? Even his own racist fan base couldn't even agree with Jason Whitlock. When your racist fans couldn't even agree with you, that means that it's pretty bad. I'm not throwing out the word racist out there casually, because I've looked at The Blaze. That's the network that he works for. He also has a Fearless podcast, and some of the things that people have said in there about others, they're certainly very derogatory, and they're certainly not in the right for saying that, look, I don't care if you want to be a far-right dude and you want to cancel the woke, but you can't also go out there and also try to cancel everybody else too, because you're acting no different than the woke people. And Jason Whitlock is definitely jealous of Deion Sanders because of the fact how Deion Sanders has had more success than Jason Whitlock in his life. Jason Whitlock has been a dude that has been fired at ESPN multiple times, not once, but twice on ESPN. This dude clearly has bitter things that he has about Deion Sanders. The way that he is acting about Deion Sanders kind of makes you wonder if Deion Sanders stifled him in an interview in the 1990s or something, because his hate for Deion Sanders sounds very personal and it sounds like he's very angered about what happened in the past. Then I have takeaway number 3 as to what Jason Whitlock was saying about Deion Sanders and the obsession that he has. It's that his point of view and arguments are extremely flawed. It's the fact that he's been using a flawed premise this entire time and that he's been spreading lies and fake information just to make his point about Deion Sanders. I'm going to show you guys this clip right here that's going to show exactly what I mean when I'm talking about Jason Whitlock creating lies and a false narrative when talking about Deion Sanders. Let me go ahead and roll the film.
And so I want the people that think that this Deion thing is going to be a huge, huge success. I just want to walk you through the football reasons why it's not going to work. And Oregon gave us a peek into the clown show that Deion is actually operating at Colorado. And it's great. Oh, they won 3 games and they only won one last year. They're already ahead of schedule. He's already done a great thing. And the dude overturned his entire roster through the transfer portal. I think they said on TV they had 69 new scholarship players. You only have 85 scholarship players. I believe it's been said they have 86 new players total. 69 new scholarship players and 86 new players total. That's a total overhaul. He's not coaching the 1-11 team. He's coaching the new team that he brought in.
Well, that was what Jason Whitlock said about Deion Sanders on Monday. Obviously, he had a lot more to say about that, but I just wanted to show you guys that little snippet of what he had to say about Deion Sanders. The argument and narrative that he just flew out there for Deion Sanders was extremely flawed. So basically, his point about Deion Sanders is that, oh, who cares if he's only won 3 games so far because of the fact that they were a 1-win team the previous year. It's because he's been bringing all those dudes from the transfer portal and that the recruiting classes aren't really worth all that. But honestly, what is Deion Sanders supposed to do? Do you just want him to lay down? Are we holding Deion Sanders to insane standards? Are we expecting Deion Sanders to take down a top 10 team in Oregon? What are we expecting from Deion Sanders, Jason Whitlock? Why are you holding him to these same high standards? I hope somebody holds those same standards for Matt Rule when he's going up against Jim Harbaugh this week. And when he loses to Jim Harbaugh and everybody's going to be saying, oh, why couldn't Matt Rule beat Jim Harbaugh in year 1? I hope people use that same standard for Nick Saban back in 2007 when his team didn't even do that well his first year in there. Or Billy Napier at Florida. Or Steve Sarkisian at Texas. I hope that Jason Whitlock used those same standards that he just used for Deion Sanders on those schools that I just pointed out. But of course, he's not going to do that because this dude obviously has an axe to grind when it comes to Deion Sanders. You can tell that there is hate coming out of his mouth. Just look at his face. You could tell that he has such hate and vitriol when talking about Deion Sanders. And I think that this is normal behavior for Jason Whitlock. I think he just doesn't like outspoken black people because of the fact that this dude is constantly tearing down Deion Sanders all the time. Not even his own fans even agree with him whatsoever. Do I think the hype for Deion Sanders has gotten out of control? Yes. Do I think that the people that have been raving about Deion Sanders, some of them are bandwagon fans and don't actually care about college football? Yes. However, what Deion Sanders is doing at Colorado is very impressive. If it wasn't impressive, then tell me this, Jason Whitlock. Why was the over-under at 3.5 wins before the year started for Colorado? Will you mention that? Of course you're not going to mention it because it doesn't fit in with the facts that you're trying to put in because you're trying to create a false narrative out there. And then, of course, there's takeaway number 4. There's definitely an agenda being pushed against Deion Sanders. Again, you can tell that there is a false narrative going on with Deion Sanders when it comes to Jason Whitlock because Jason Whitlock is pushing out fake information out there. I mean, yes, he is technically telling the truth, but he is leaving out a lot of information. Of course, they're going to have to be more reliant on the transfer portal than some of these other schools because Colorado is not a blue blood school. This dude is acting like he's taking over an Ohio State team that has all the resources in the world, or that he's going to Texas where everybody's going to be supporting him. He's going to freaking Colorado. Colorado was not even relevant in in football prior to this season. Nobody cares about Colorado football. I'm sorry for the people that do actually care about Colorado football, but the reality is not very many people care about whatsoever. And the fact that Deion Sanders has driven interest to that should be a major credit to him. That shouldn't be used against him. And what's wrong if you use the transfer portal? Shouldn't you be trying to build a winning culture as soon as you can? I'm getting tired of these coaches trying to stall around saying, oh, give me 3 years. Look, man, I get what you're trying to say, but it shouldn't take you that long to build a title contending team. Look at TCU for an example. Sonny Dykes built a contending team in just 1 year. And I'm glad that Deion Sanders is using those resources in order to booster up his football team. He should be doing that anyways. If he wasn't doing that, I would be kind of concerned about him. I mean, of course, my final takeaway from Jason Whitlock being obsessed with Deion Sanders is that he is no different than Jamel Hill and the people on The View. And I say those names because of the fact that Jamel Hill has been using Deion Sanders' name in order to promote her talk about how racism exists everywhere in America. Of course, that is a lie that Jamel Hill has been spewing out, and that the people on The View are extremely woke. You think about the moderator on that show, Whoopi Goldberg, and then of course there's Joy Behar, and then there's Sonny Hostin, and then there's Sarah Haynes. 4 wokesters that are sitting on the table on The View, and Jason Whitlock is no different than those people because of the fact that those 5 people that I just listed out there, from the people on The View and Jamel Hill, those people are extremely miserable with their lives, and they do anything that they can to distract themselves from the miserable lives that they're living, which is tearing down other people. That's exactly what Jason Whitlock is doing. The only difference is those people are woke, while Jason Whitlock is acting like some far-right cultists out there. Look, I don't support the left, I don't support the right, I don't really care which side of politics that you lean on. Just don't be woke, just don't be some far-right cultist, and you got to be able to live within reality, and Jason Whitlock has failed to do so when talking about Deion Sanders. Clearly, this dude has an axe to grind with Deion Sanders, and that the beef that he has with Deion Sanders is personal. So that is why I have the takeaways that I have for Jason Whitlock being obsessed with Deion Sanders. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That'll be for the @Dustin-Tran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @Dustin-Tran and @Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @Dustin-Tran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.